Or live.
That I architecture thing,
Yeah.
that really doesn't mean all that much other than
Yeah.
differences within the same architecture series. So a 6000 series is way less powerful, like an i7 and 6000 series, way less powerful than like an i3 processor that's a 10,000 series.
Yeah. Well, what an introduction to Coffee Chat Live. We're just talking about Windows 11 and excluded processors. But welcome back to another week of Coffee Chat Live. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and here in the Zoom too. So this week we just want to. There's just been so much stuff going on. I think like the Facebook outage was like huge, obviously, and then the giant Twitch data breach, Windows 11. There's just so much going on that we just wanted to, kind of take a minute to talk about all those things. I think like probably start with a Facebook data breach. I think for me, like it's very or not. We don't know if it's data breach yet. I don't think it was data breach. The Facebook outage, the technical error that led to all of Facebook services being down for 8+ hours. Like Facebook being down was like pretty interesting. The fact that couldn't scroll for a little bit, but WhatsApp being down, I think like caused crazy amounts of problems. Like entire countries, continents, really, like all of South America, a lot of Europe, a lot of Africa are all using WhatsApp to communicate. Like as their primary means over like in the US, I guess we're using iMessage and SMS mostly. And that was down for a while. Like I remember one of my friends told me, he said, I can't like contact my family right now. And they can't like contact each other. I mean, like I'm sure they could have figured out another way, like message each other on something else, but like that the impact and dependence we have on technology when it goes down, it's like just a big wake up. And there's been outages, like AWS goes out for 30 seconds, like, once a year and we all freak out, but like 8 hours, it's insane. Like what if like, I don't know, like what if one of the major underlying internet cords between like the US and Europe was cut, or something like that. Like what, like the impact it would have on businesses everywhere would be insane. But I think to start out, we'll have Daniel, go through, sort of talk about what happened, and then we'll. You want to do that, Daniel?
Yeah, sure thing. Actually, a fun little note that I actually noticed from the news last night was apparently messaging apps like Signal and Telegram that sort of rival WhatsApp saw like millions of users going to download and like set up new accounts there just because of the outage. So a little note to kick things off on, but let me share my screen real quick. A quick thread advisory on what happened, or thread update, I guess, on what happened, explaining that what Facebook went through was like a border gateway protocol update. And it was like, so basically, apparently, according to Facebook insiders, it was an automatic update that wasn't exactly supposed to happen. And it ended up erasing the prefixes that help, users connect to IP addresses like on the website. Because the internet is basically, I believe the way it was described, it's like a network of networks. And the border gate protocol allows you to connect like Facebook's network to the wider sort of internet of things, I guess. And basically a BGP update like changed the internal configurations. And so the social network was no longer like transmitting the codes that you need to sort of connect DNS and things like that. And because websites like Facebook and Instagram have like DNS resolvers that are like 30 times larger than I guess normal DNS resolvers, it basically caused like a cascading shutdown, and it resulted in like the 7-hour shutdown that we saw. And apparently it was bad enough that internally like communications at Facebook were disrupted. Like people were having trouble accessing conference rooms and offices that you need IDs to get into, and they even had to send engineers down to like the physical data centers and try to access those in order to actually resolve the breach. So,
wow, it's like like major like that was the funniest part. Like I mean I shouldn't laugh at it, but when Facebook employees like getting notices or texts or leaks from like friends who worked at Facebook or whatever that they couldn't get into like building things and that all of their internal services like they couldn't even fix the problem. Um but yeah, the way I like to think of it is like if Facebook was the New York City subway system and the general internet was like Google Maps, Facebook went ahead and told Google Maps, "Hey, here's our new map," and basically just sent in a blank map. And then on all of the New York City subway systems, they just replaced all the maps with blank maps, and then you couldn't see what station you were going to or anything. But I know we're all pretty technical on this call, and probably didn't need that. But if anyone's watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, maybe that's a little bit helpful. I also like the other thing about it is how many people like don't necessarily know the difference between Facebook and the internet. And I'm not talking about just like users on um, Facebook who like whatever putting a ticket in like I can't access the internet because Facebook's not loading, and then they go to Instagram and it's not loading either. I'm like, oh, the internet must be down. I mean like in like developing nations and even in the US too, like when Facebook has all of the services that they're using, there's no like the internet as they perceive it is just Facebook, which is like a really interesting thing. And then also like Facebook's done a lot of work actually building infrastructure in developing countries to sort of get access to Facebook and putting it out there. But like when we talk about having an open internet and like the principles that a lot of people stand for with that, like this it kind of shows like where we're actually at when like people don't notice the difference between Facebook and the actual internet. It's like the internet, it's almost like the internet's privatized, like and owned by Facebook.
In certain countries, it essentially is. I was
Yeah.
listening to a report on NPR yesterday or the day before talking about the outage. And essentially in India, if you buy any kind of mobile phone that is internet connected at all, it has all the Facebook stuff pre-installed, and that's how you access anything on the internet. So they have WhatsApp pre-installed, they've got Facebook pre-installed, they've got all of those things there, such that you buy a phone, Facebook is the internet, essentially, for the vast majority of people that buy a phone. Luckily they weren't terribly inconvenienced by it because it was mostly in the middle of the night for them, but it would have been a huge problem for them if it happened while it was during their daytime.
It's crazy, and all this is happening while Facebook is going through a big whistleblower leak as well. But that wasn't the only big thing that we had in the news last week. We had a massive Twitch data breach where like basically everything, source code, commit history, earnings of many of the top streamers, personal information, tons of stuff out on that. I think we're still like uncovering what exactly it was, but also like I think the impact of this one, it was like the way it was leaked, a torrent sort of went out on the clear net. Like it wasn't necessarily just all on the dark web. And I think a lot of people had access to the entire data breach like faster than people normally would. And then in addition to that, because of the platform, like it's like the online sleuths who like to like go through breaches and like talk about them on Twitter and all that, they tend to all hang out on Twitch too. So I think it just like amplified everything, but Jared, you were saying that you saw some like the Twitch streamers have actually like started joking about it.
Yes, I saw a couple of the larger streamers saying they want to make merch about it and kind of capitalize off of the fact that their earnings were exposed to the rest of the world.
I think back to a couple years ago, like when password leaks started getting more popular and you could like see your old passwords and stuff like that. I remember typing in a password one day to my laptop or some application or something and being like, in 5 years from now, when this gets leaked, do I want people to know this was my password? And it's like, you know, the thing that's supposed to be like secure that nobody's supposed to know, like you gotta think like, oh, this might be public information one day. Like, I better not write anything inappropriate here. Which I think is just hilarious. I mean, have you guys ever seen that? Like going through like a dark web scan and like you see someone's password, you're like, ooh.
I think the closest I've ever been is I remember you put out a LinkedIn post when I first joined Barracuda MSP, where it was just like, here are the 100 words passwords, and like half of them were like people's names, some of them were like football or just soccer or even just password 123.
Yeah. Yeah. Do we know what happened yet with the Twitch? How that hack happened?
So we don't know who's responsible. We just know that we just know that what was leaked. We're still in our Twitch is apparently still investigating the actual like breadth of the breach, but like I think the latest updates we got were like 17 hours ago, and researchers said that there were plain text like emails and passwords that had been exposed by the breach after Twitch had made the statement saying we don't think that any private information has been compromised or something like that. But I know that personally from monitoring what's been going on myself with like Twitch users, I've seen a lot of, I guess a lot of anger that they kept the site like up and running and just pretended like nothing has happened. I think the most notification that people have got like in sight was just one notification saying like, due to some security concerns, we've reset your stream keys, which is what enables users to like live stream to Twitch. So, but yeah, for the most part, they've been trying to keep this very hush hush, I guess, much like the way Facebook released a statement about the outage. So,
yeah. Well, I think in some of these cases too, we found out that people have to be hush hush. I don't know that this is the case, but like in some of the major ransomware cases, they did things that the public was not happy about, and it turns out later that the FBI was involved and they had to do that like in order to continue their operation or whatever. So maybe we can give them benefit of the doubt for now. We'll see. But John, before we were live streaming, and actually the intro to this was a little bit about Windows 11, the official release this week. Is that right?
That's right. It was officially released. You can download it and install it on a computer that can actually, handle the new operating system. There's plenty of processors out there that it doesn't support that are probably still in use. But it's pretty much the same as the Windows 10 type of rollout, where you're not going to see anything for a while automatically, but eventually you might. And I've been warning people for a few days already, and allegedly they're going to be sending out the updates to basically very new computers first, and then going back to older computers over time.
Yeah. Early thoughts. I know you had one feature that you'd like to change, but besides that, I mean, you can mention that if you want. But
I've literally just started playing around with it and noticed that I couldn't move the taskbar, and that was a giant problem as far as I'm concerned. Most people probably won't care because it's obviously still in the usual position at the bottom of the screen. But for those of us who do like to move it, it's kind of off-putting.
yeah.
And before we sign off today, I wanted to highlight we're wrapping up the first week of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And I know that Daniel put something together for, everyone here. Dan, you mind explaining what exactly that is?
sure thing. So for the past year or so, we've been releasing weekly sales and marketing templates to MSPs. So basically, if you need a marketing campaign planning tool or monthly like social media packs or sales email templates that you want to use to like stay on your prospects radar, start new conversations, we collected all those into one giant folder, and you can download all 40 of them now at the link that Jared is putting in the chat. I will share my screen real quick. But basically, we've gathered everything that we've put together over the past year for you to use, and it's basically a year's worth of sales and marketing supplies if you ever want to keep your MSPs, marketing team in-house, or if you want to give your sales team a bit more backup. So
Years worth of content. That's crazy to think about. Yeah, thank you for putting that together for everyone. I still haven't gotten to dive into all the resources, but I'm definitely excited to take a deeper look at them. Yeah, that's just my 2 cents I wanted to throw in there, Jim.
All right. Well, let's keep to our keep to our 15 minutes here. I don't know. I was going to call it something clever, but nothing came to me. But thank you all for joining. And we'll be back next week for another episode of